Hey, greetings everyone. It is GleeCon. Back again, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Welcome, welcome, welcome. On our last episode, we finished off Black Fathom Deeps with the Horde. We had already done it with the Alliance. It was a nice, smooth run with a efficient, talented team, a healer that did their job, a very skilled tank, good at pulling, myself, kind of using my lore knowledge to map the zone and provide direction, and DPS melee getting it done. So it was a nice experience. You don't always get that with bugs. We've also been reading through the World of Warcraft magazine, the official old thing that came out right before Cataclysm. We're in the middle of that run, and we're going to read the third issue. We're a couple articles in, so stay a while and listen as we continue. Last time we did a nice long interview with Chris Metzen, definitely interesting. And with his return, with the announcement of the new trilogy of expansions that'll be coming out, with the announcement of Classic Cataclysm, a lot of cool things on the horizon, and it kind of all is synergistic with, or not maybe coincidental, I don't know. It all dovetails nicely with the stuff we've been covering from over a decade ago, 15 years ago, pretty much at this point. I'm going to try, settle in. I'm going to try to read a few issues or articles today, because I will not be making an episode tomorrow. We are celebrating the young GleeCon's birthday. He is going to be having a few friends. We're going to go do the whole laser tag, arcade go-kart kind of thing with some of his little bros. So right after I get off work, we'll be going to do that. So I don't imagine I can pretty much guarantee there's no chance of an episode tomorrow. But we'll get one the next day, where Friday, Veterans Day, we'll get a nice day off, and we'll come back and hit the turn-ins and really finish up the zone with our old Talanji. All right, so this article, it's an advice article. It is called Putting Your ... Self to the Test by Casey Lynch. It looks like this is the starting zone for the goblins. Pretty neat zone. Beta testing Cataclysm gives you an opportunity to be one of the first to explore the new world, but it's not all play. Is the beta test right for you? You know what? I'm curious about this, because I'm strongly considering signing on for the beta test for World at War. There's nothing quite like the jolt of excitement felt when stepping into a new world. Soon, World of Warcraft players will feel the joy of experiencing Cataclysm, but before they do, there's work to do. And a big part of that work will be undertaken by beta testers. Many Cataclysm beta testers will have never participated in a beta test of any kind before, and therefore might not know what to expect or what might be expected from them during the testing process. A beta test gives players early access to upcoming content in order to test the usability of the software, stress test the realms, and help iron out gameplay issues. In return, beta testers get an early look at what players will experience when Cataclysm is released. Beta testers share in the heavy lifting of identifying, reporting, and ultimately tidying up around the soon-to-be reborn Azeroth, so there's a mix of responsibility and fun. It isn't called a beta test for nothing. Okay? It says you can comment on just about everything in the world by alt-left clicking on it to bring up a feedback submission menu. Okay? Beta testing, to me, is about being willing to stop whatever it is I'm doing to provide feedback down to the tiniest thing, says Arundel. I like that. I'm actually willing to do that kind of challenge. Getting your hands on Cataclysm before the general public can be a kick, but it comes with caveats. First of all, the progress that testers make on the beta realms stays on the beta realms. You can play with a copy of your current character, an off-the-rack level 80, or a new tune, but any experience, gear, gold, or achievements you earn will go away when the test ends. Also, be aware that the code is still being worked on, so it doesn't come packed with the same level of polish that Blizzard's release content is known for. Yin Yang, a level 80 human warlock from the Anvilmar US realm, puts it this way: it's a good idea to prepare for the unexpected. Realms crash, spells get broken, and you may fall through the ground. But after it's all over, you can sit back and laugh and know that you helped make the game better in the end. Cool. Look at those shoulder pads. Those are neat. Helpers and explorers. Players have a myriad of motivations for jumping into the test, but the testing inclined can be roughly broken down into two groups, helpers and explorers. When you consider taking on the role of a tester, take into account which player type best describes you. For those who fancy themselves secret quality assurance agents of Azeroth ready to save the populace from glitches, exploits, terrain bugs, and wonky flight mechanics, the good news is that the developers welcome the input and look into every single bug report filed. The bad news? Would-be testers should get ready to fill out reports upon report, sometimes in great detail. For players like Arundel and Night Elf Druid of the Nagrand US realm, it's hardly bad news, though. I love filling in forms. That bug report UI really gets used in my hands. Descriptions of issues, bugs, suggestions, steps to reproduce problems right down to the smallest detail. Beta testing to me is about willing to stop whatever it is I'm doing and provide feedback down to the tiniest thing. I could get into that. Freya, a longtime column contributor, community MVP, and Night Elf Hunter on the Greymane realm, agrees and explains it like this. This opportunity is a job in and of itself, with perks. The zones will not be completely stable, talents will bug out, like Unholy Blight crashing the world, or classes suddenly realizing a certain ability makes them gods. For those serious about testing, finding bugs and exploits, and throwing everything you've got at the designers, the beta test is fun, Freya says, and allows you to do things you normally wouldn't be able to do in the live game. Found an exploit in the beta, run it repeatedly in an effort to figure out how to do it and if the fixes addressed the issue. Be prepared to fill out a few forms. If you finished a quest, you'll be asked things like whether you found the quest fun, its degree of difficulty, and how good the reward was. Okay? So many questions. Be prepared to see a lot of these question marks. They pop up every time you complete a quest, reminding you to submit feedback. I wonder if that beta experience is the same. When I explore the new towns, textures, mob types, and the populace of the new lands, it feels like Christmas came early, says Plain Air. Not every beta hopeful is looking to quash bugs. Many players view this as a golden opportunity to get into the new content early, giving them a valuable chance to run through new zones, new quests, and new instances in preparation of running the content when it goes live. Plain Air, a Blood Elf mage on Terrakar, says the immediate satisfaction of participating in the past betas has always been the exploration of new environments. From the shores of Senjin to the giant mushrooms of Zangarmarsh, the first interactions with the zones are the most significant ones. Exploring new towns, textures, mob types, and populace of the new lands is like Christmas come early. Still others enjoy the challenge of combing through new content before players create guides and FAQs. Voldoya, a human warlock playing on the Feathermoon US realm, describes it this way. It's just insanely fun to play through quests, zones, and dungeons when there's not much to read up on, and you get to figure everything out or ask other players for help. No one ever told me to check boards or any strategy sites during Wrath of the Lich King beta because we were the only ones out there. That's true. I wonder if I do decide to do this as possible, I'll make a side content like where I post what I do. Why are you here? After considering the expectations of a beta tester, players should ask themselves the hard questions. Are you opting in for bragging rights and the pure and simple fun of it, or are contributing, reporting, and helping just as important? Even if someone is more interested in spelunking deep into the new lore and newly reshaped lands, players should also try to give constructive input and jump onto beta test boards to discuss class changes, spell modifications, questline and reward tweaks, and more. If you do decide to take the plunge, Bruin, a human paladin on Far Striders US, has some words of advice. Read the quests, admire the new scenery, stock up on food and drink, and most importantly, have fun. It's a game, but as a beta tester, you can make it better. Casey Lynch has covered video games for Gul'dan knows how long, and occasionally has to explain why he has a female Guitar Hero character named after him. Ah, that's neat. It's been a while since I played Guitar Hero. All right, now we have another article. That's actually a very cool artwork of a Deep Home type dragon being ridden by a Tauren. It's a feature article called Ride of Your Life by Josh Augustine. There's almost no end to the variety of ferocious animals and mechanical wonders waiting for you to toss a saddle on and ride around Azeroth. We hailed down players with some of the fullest stables to understand their love of all things rideable and get their tips on how anyone can join in the fun. Nothing turns heads on the streets of Dalaran like riding into the town on the back of a big flashy mount no one has seen before. Rare and unique mounts are the hot rod muscle cars of Azeroth, making a big splash whenever they roll into town. Whether a player collects mounts or not, he or she is going to take notice when a giant fiery phoenix cruises overhead. Mounts are a very tangible way to project a player's impressive accomplishments to the world, a sprinting billboard of success, the success that a player's had in Azeroth. Although everyone's able to get a ground mount at level 20, and you don't technically need more than one ground and one flying mount to travel the world, there's something about Azeroth's exotic mounts that keeps many players searching for more and more of them 60 levels later, long after they've filled their stables with enough options to sport a different ride every day of the month, heck, every day of the year. So what is it about mounts that keeps players' attentions when there are mighty demons to be slain and epic arena matches to be won? Answers are as varied as the people collecting them. Some collect for fashion, matching mounts to specific sets of gear. Others collect for role-playing reasons or good old-fashioned bragging rights. And some collect new mounts just because they're there. That's kind of like me. I don't really have a set thing. I like to get new ones all the time and switch it up and ride them. Mounts can have perks that make even fashion-disinterested players clamor for them. Friendly ride the X-53 Touring Rocket Seats 2 and is obtained through the Recruiter Friend program. Yeah, anything like that, you gotta have. It's pretty cool. All right, so they said the road to the right stuff. Mount training. So the player level required, what you can ride, and movement speed. So at Apprentice is level 20. You can do land mounts only with 60% speed buff. At Journeyman level, that you have to be 40. You get your Epic land mount, and it gives you that 100% buff, which is the max of regular Classic. Expert level 60 gives you a flying mount, a little faster at 150, and Artisan at 70. That gives you the Epic flying mount for 280% speed, almost double that. I think they've kind of changed. They've tweaked these. I don't think Epic flying is quite as OP anymore. Multitasking mounts. One of the most appealing aspects of mount collecting is that it's not an exclusive activity. Azeroth is a world filled with evil entities begging for a beatdown, amiable factions looking for dedicated allies to champion their cause, and Horde or Alliance rivals looking to fight you for glory and honor, and you can experience all of that simply collecting mounts along the way. It's true that a few mounts are earned through more off-the-beaten-path activities like hunting a lone rare spawn in an obscure corner of Azeroth, but you can almost certainly collect mounts doing whatever it is you already enjoy doing. In fact, none of the top mount collectors we spoke to consider mount collecting to be their only focus in World of Warcraft. They have fun doing a lot more than simply hunting for their next ride. The mindset of a mount collector. For all of their diversity in motives and favorite activities, mount collectors share some similar characteristics, one of them being a rigorous sense of completionism. Veteran mount collector Raugrim of Silvermoon US says if you're really a collector, you aren't picky. Costumes, blacksmithing plans, vanity pets, unique weapons. I collect anything and everything. Yeah, me too. Many mount collectors share that same passion for amassing as many interesting bits of Azeroth as they can. Sandra Mania Powers, the creator and operator of WarcraftMounts.com, a website that allows players to track their own collection of mounts, find new mounts to pursue, and get together with other mount collectors to compare and discuss, likes to encourage players to at least test out mount collecting. It's okay to start a collection and abandon it later. The mounts don't take up any inventory space. If you collect a couple of mounts now and forget about it for a year, no harm done. Don't look at it as amassing a collection of 100 plus mounts. Instead, if you want a mount, go and get it. And if you keep doing that, one day you may find you're a mount collector with over 100 mounts. That's nothing, I think, nowadays. Rides with benefits. Of course, it's not always just cosmetic differences that make a new mount appealing. Mounts can also have handy perks that make even the most fashion-disinterested players clamor for them. For example, the Grand Ice Mammoth, sold by the Sons of Hodir at Exalted Reputation, is a 3-player mount that allows your buddies to come along for a ride by hopping into an empty passenger seat. The Traveler's Tundra Mammoth, available for 20,000 golden Dalaran, takes it one step further, including 2 vendors in the 2 passenger seats that sell reagents, repair gear, and will begrudgingly give up their seat for one of your friends if asked, making the Mammoth a very welcome tool for any world traveler or raid leader. In Secrets of Ulduar Patch 3.1, the game's first aquatic mount was introduced, the rare Sea Turtle. Caught in any Northrend fishing pool, this gal cruises at an extra 60% speed in water, but pokes along at normal run speed outside of her element on dry land. Okay, so what your mount says about you. You're saying a lot about who you are by the mount you choose. Here are 6 quick analyses. So the Deadly Gladiator's Frostworm. What it says about you, don't mess with me. I'm a PvP master. I don't have that. The Brown Horse, what it says about you, I like to keep it simple. Yeah, I have that. The Mechgineer's Chopper Mechano Hog, what it says about you is, run, go, get to the chopper. It also says, like, you're either an engineer or you have friends that you like to have a companion. The Green Riding Netherray, what it says about you. I ain't afraid of no Skedis. I don't think I have that because I don't think I've got Exalted with that faction. The Headless Horseman's Mount, what it says about you. I walk that fine line between good and evil. It also means you're lucky as hell on Halloween. Magnificent Flying Carpet, what it says about you. All those wild beasts are much too dirty for my tastes. It also says that you are a skilled profession person. Collecting your arsenal of animals is its own reward, but that doesn't mean you can't have lots of fun showing it off. Some stable masters. Let's look about that in a second. Making a collection of your own. The best part about deciding that you want to start collecting mounts is realizing that you've already started. If your character is level 20 or higher, you've most likely already purchased apprentice riding skill and a land mount from your racial mount vendor. New level 20 should receive a letter from the mount vendor with directions to his or her location, usually in a small town near their race's capital city. These mounts are the easiest acquisitions for your stable and ripe for picking a new mount collector. So head on back down to your race's mount vendor and pick up every colored mount available, regardless of how you feel about the color schemes. Paladins, Warlocks, and Death Knights should be particularly careful to visit their racial mount vendors since they train a mount from their class trainer and may not have purchased their racial mount before. If you're starting your collection below level 40, make a mental note of the vendor's location. New epic land mounts will be available from the same seller at level 40. All right, so Evasion on Hakara European has 136 mounts. Why did you start collecting mounts? Mounts are the coolest things in World of Warcraft. They don't become obsolete like gear, and you use them very often. When mounts became spells in the Burning Crusade, no longer taking space in your bags, I started collecting them. What? In Classic, the mounts take a space in your bag? Gosh, we haven't gotten anyone to 40 yet in Classic, so I haven't experienced that. Favorite mount? Ashes of Alar. It was my ultimate goal, and when I finally got it, helped by a bunch of friends, I could really be proud of my collection. It's the only mount you can't ignore. Everybody has to stare at it for a few moments in awe, hoping one day to have it for themselves. I think you get that as a rare drop from a Burning Crusade raid. Ralgrim of Silver Moon has 131 mounts. Why did you start collecting mounts? I knew when I started the game I didn't want to aim to be the best raider or champion of the Horde fighting the Alliance. Everyone else was doing that. Instead, I chose to focus on goals most players would overlook, like collecting mounts. Well, you have to do some of that other stuff too. Without a doubt, my Black Karaji battle tank. I do have that. The quest chain to get it to this day is still the most daunting quest chain in the game, as it ended with you having a permanent change on your realm. I don't think that's what it takes anymore. I'm pretty certain I have it. Q Ryan, Executus European, has 136. Why did you start collecting mounts? It wasn't really a decision for me, more a style of playing. When I play games, I try to collect all the secrets, see all the content, or do all the achievements, so I just started collecting everything that was collectible. Favorite mount? The Time Lost Proto-Drake. It took more than the usual effort to obtain. I did a lot of research into the flight paths of the rare spawn in Storm Peaks that drops it, and made a macro, camping strategic locations with 3 characters for almost 2 months. I don't think I have that mount. You do need to kill. I've done that where you're camping to find the guy that drops it because you need him for one of the exploration achievements that I got, the killing all of the Northrend rares, but I didn't repeatedly kill him to get the mount or anything. Anytime's a good time to start. Once you train journeyman riding skill at least 40, you have all you need to ride any ground mount in the game, but of course you still have to be able to kill the boss or earn the reputation needed to acquire it. Some of the best options for young mount collectors hoping to fill their stables while leveling are the Black War PvP mounts. There are 5 available too, 1 for each race in your faction. They cost 50,000 honor each and can be bought from vendors in Orgrimmar or Stormwind City depending on your faction. Another great option for level 48 and higher Horde players is to visit Morvek in southeast Ungoro Crater to get started on a quest chain to earn a Venomhide Ravasor mount while netting some solid experience. Yeah, I have that one. The Alliance equivalent, the Winter Spring Frost Saber, is earned through repeatable quests at level 58 from River and Frostwind in Northern Winter Spring. I have that one. I got that one years ago. Both of those years ago. Shell game. Fish in Northrend seas long enough and you could catch a sea turtle mount. It's slow on the land, but speedy on the water. A few professions also grant access to mounts before characters reach maximum level. Myanmar of Bloodscalp US, a fisherman who caught the elusive sea turtle mount at level 40. Yes, 40. There was much dying. suggests that aspiring low-level turtle hunters take advantage of the Kalawak's wonderful giant sea turtle public transportation, travel to Unupe on the coast of eastern Borean tundra, and travel between the 3 Kalawak towns via their giant sea turtles, rotationally fishing the 2 or 3 fishing pools that spawn on the coast of each town. Engineer grease monkeys can construct flying machines for themselves at levels 60 and 70, while tailors can sew together flying carpets to get around. Yeah, I have those. Mounts travel in packs when starting... Actually, I don't know if I have the flying carpet. My wife does, because she's done a lot of tailoring. But I can't remember if I did that on my own. But I definitely have the chopper. When starting your collection, aim for the mounts that can be acquired in large groups at once before you try to tackle lone beasts that drop off bosses once in a blue moon. Stop by Nagrand, where earning exalted reputation with the Maghar for Horde or the Kuranai for the Alliance will let you access to 8 Talbot mounts at once. Participate in the Argent tournament, where daily quests reward reputation with all the races within your faction, eventually allowing you to purchase mounts from the other 4 racial vendors in your faction, adding up to a whopping 25 or so additional mounts in your stable. And that's not including more than a dozen marvelous mounts purchasable with the champion seals, rewarded for daily quests at the tournament, making the Argent tournament a mecca for level 80 mount collectors. They all have those things. Those bugs. Some of the top mount collectors in the world share how they got started and what mount they're most proud of. Hasdruida Zuljin has 131 in Europe. Why did you start collecting mounts? I decided to start a collection of mounts when I got my first rare mount, the Amani Warbear. I think they're the best things to collect because they're the only items in-game that are really forever. Yeah, that's a common theme. What's your favorite? I have 2 personal favorites, the Magic Rooster and the Zulian Tiger. It's fun to show them off in Dalaran, but seeing people's faces when you ride toward them on a giant chicken in a battleground is very funny. Seamus, Bone Chewer US, has 137. Why did you start collecting mounts? To me, mounts are one of the few really cool things you can obtain in the game that will still be cool in further expansions. Gear comes and goes. It's also something fun to do when we aren't raiding. Again, pretty much everyone has this exact same reason. The first mount I got serious time into getting was the Raven Lord. I made my wife tank almost 100 runs of a heroic Sethek Halls before it finally dropped. Considering you could only do the heroic once a day, this was some effort. Yeah, for sure. Sam Cake, Agrimar in US is 133. Why did you start collecting mounts? I spent my youth daydreaming about riding dragons and flying. I realized very early in World of Warcraft, as my bank filled up with mounts, that I would be a sucker for collecting mounts and swapping which ones I used on a daily basis. Favorite mount, I'd have to say my X-51 Nether Rocket Extreme. I've shared many adventures with it and still remember that shocking and extremely happy moment of obtaining it from a lightweight trading card game pack. That's cool. Maybe some you can get with like real money now. I actually do have one mount I bought with real money, which in hindsight I think you can get it a lot easier now, but it's like the Fey Dragon or something like that. I just really liked its little chameleon look to it. Just a cool one. It's full of stars. The Celestial Steed is versatile, adjusting to the character's riding skill and the rules of the road of the zone it is summoned in. I don't know if I have that one. I've seen that one around. It's a cool one. Strut your stuff. Collecting your arsenal of animals is its own reward, but that doesn't mean you can't have lots of fun showing off your latest and greatest mount where other players can see them. The consensus among mount collectors is that high population locations like Dalaran's landing pad and Orgrimmar's and Ironforge's auction houses are the most likely places to find players showcasing their favorite mounts. When the Celestial Steed was released to the online Blizzard store in April, oh, that's where you get it, the gorgeous mounts can be found all around the areas. Of course, this means that these locations are also the most likely places you'll find like-minded mount collectors on your realm. Stop by and say hello, and you just might make a longtime friend, an ally in your hunt for the most elusive mounts of the game. I'm very bummed. The one mount I missed out on, and maybe one day it'll make a comeback, is that tall Brontosaurus mount that cost 5 million gold. I just never had 5 million saved up to buy it. But I had like whatever, any rep or whatever you might need for it. Dealing with paparazzi. If you end up with an ultra rare mount in your stable like the Ashes of Alar, a fiery phoenix flying mount that has an extremely low chance to drop from raid boss Kael'thas Sunstrider in the eye, capable of making even the most dedicated mount collectors jealous of you, you better be ready for the attention you're going to get. Raugrim has received so many whispers about his Black Karaji battle tank that he has to carry a macro message with me to answer the daily whispers I get from players asking me what I'm writing and where it's from. Of course, if you'd rather go incognito for a while, you'll always have plenty of plainclothes mounts to ride into town on. And if someone comes over to try and one-up you on one of your mounts, on your mount style, you could follow Seamus of Bone Chewer US's example. Sometimes people will run up to me and try to mount up on something I don't have. Of course, it can be done, but that's when I'll cycle through my Amani Warbear, Rivendare's Death Charger, Ravenlord, etc. Yeah. Plus, there's always Invincible. I gotta say, Invincible right there. Still, to this day, anytime I see someone run by an Invincible, I just stop and I'm just like, dang. So what are you waiting for? There are more than 150 mounts out there waiting for you to find them and claim them. Get in that saddle and start searching. Giddy up! Keep at it. This is the mount collecting endgame, the most wanted mounts, and someday you could have these elusive, jealousy-inducing rides. I have seen Mimron's head before. I don't have it. One of the most difficult raid achievements in the game, Alone in the Darkness. 25-player rewards this flying robot head, but requires that your raid kill Yogg-Saron in 25-player Ulduar without the assistance of any keepers. And I think the reason why it's still so rare is I think you still need to have the full 25 players or something. I don't know. Magic Rooster, I've seen that a couple times. I don't have it. Sure to cripple your enemies through laughter or fear if they happen to be terrified of chickens. This mount is acquired from the official trading card game, the card El Pollo Grande in the Fields of Honor set. That's cool. Of course, Invincible. Arthas will not part with his beloved steed easily. You have to kill the Lich King in 25-player heroic mode in order to earn the mount for one of your raid members, and it's a like 1 in a million drop. Maybe not 1 in a million, but so small. Maybe it's the same thing with Mimron's head. It's just a super rare drop. I think what makes the Invincible one so hard is that it's such a long raid too. Violet Proto-Drake I have. The ultimate definition of long-term goal. This mount is a reward for the What a Long Strange Trip It's Been achievement that you get from completing the meta achievements for every major holiday year-round. And I do have that. That's pretty cool. Look at these. We got some cosplayers now. So we're going to look at some Draenei Shaman, maybe. They look like cosplayers to me. Costumes dressed to impress. Yeah, that looks like a Draenei. By Matthew Craggs. So even though we're right at about time, I said we'd do a few, so we will read this article as well today. It's a little bit extra. Cosplayers have the mats and the skill level to craft every piece in the game. Outside of Disneyland, a young girl dressed as Snow White breaks away from her parents and runs down the street. The exhausted mother rummages in her purse for the camera to take yet another snapshot of her daughter with a costumed figure. However, Snow White isn't snuggling up to Mickey Mouse or Cinderella. She's waist-high to a female blood elf. A few blocks away, hundreds of cosplayers dressed as characters from Blizzard's game universes wander the halls of BlizzCon 2009 in Anaheim, California. Within Blizzard's celebration of gaming culture, a cosplay community thrives. And that's still true to this day. Cosplay is just freaking huge. That's a pretty cool hammer that he has right there. World of Warcraft provides gamers with a visual feast of races, armor sets, and weapons that often push the limits of what's physically possible to recreate in our world. Cosplayers draw upon this wealth of imagination just like the gamers who band together under the mantle of World of Warcraft. They support one another, offer constructive criticism, and make friends. Mario Roy and Alice Comstock met at Blizzard 2009. He wore a Tier 8 priest costume. She was dressed as a night elf. We were just two people in a costume. At a con, I have no idea who you are, but if you're in costume, then we have something in common, Mario says. Cosplayers flock to one another at a con, sharing in the excitement and helping each other navigate the floor. At one point during BlizzCon 2009, Mario tried to form a 5-person party, but as we've all encountered, couldn't find a tank. That's pretty much why we hung out at first, Alice says. Now the two live together, just north of San Francisco, California. The costumes that they met each other in were their first creations. Tackling a Tier 8 priest on its first try, Mario says, was in the spirit of Blizzard. If you're going to do it, go big. All of the black cloth you see under the armor, that's just a sundress, Mario explains as he points to a picture of himself taken during BlizzCon 2009's costume contest. I mean, that is pretty... He did a pretty freaking good job. Mask on there. That's foam, Crayola modeling material, model magic. That's wire mesh with paper mache and foam over it. And the dome on top of Guiding Star is from Canada. It's a painted submarine window. Huh. That's cool. During the 3-block walk from his hotel to the Anaheim Convention Center, he knew he had done something right. Cars were honking and people were shouting for the Horde when someone yelled, "Priests rule." I got that feeling you only get at a convention. Everyone was there for the same purpose, but it was more intense because I was in costume. I stood out. The attendees loved his costume, and the cosplay community, from whom Mario had sought help in the previous months, welcomed him. This BlizzCon, he's the one who, we'll go back to that in just a sec, will offer help. So this is the insert, the infoldable. That's why it's kind of weird, because you can see the background. It's like pictures of costumes, but it's really the poster that we're looking at there. And now we can look at the costumes underneath. That's Alexstrasza. I don't know if that's an Arakoa. That's an orc. That is a... I don't know what that's supposed to be. She almost looks like she has hooves, so is that supposed to be some kind of Draenei? Her clothing is limited. That's that priest dude. Here we have a Worgen, and I don't know what that's supposed to be. That's another Draenei. At a con, I have no idea who everybody, if we have costumes, something in common, blah, blah, blah. Since I drive to the con, other cosplayers are going to ship everything to San Francisco, and I'll pick it up. And we'll meet up in Anaheim and pass out gear like it's a raid, Mario says. The couple's house also acts as a workshop for local cosplayers who need help. They'll bring over something they're stuck on, and we'll work on it together. For some cosplayers, the passion and pride that comes with completing a costume makes it more than just a hobby. I'd really like to make it my profession someday, Svetlana Quint writes from her home in Nuremberg, Germany. Into cosplay since 2003, Svetlana's loyalty to her Night Elf Druid drove her to build Tier 1, Tier 3, and Tier 6 Druid costumes. The latter won her best costume at both Animagic 2009 and WowEurope.com costume contests that earned her a trip to BlizzCon 2009. The 24-year-old doesn't think she'll make it to BlizzCon 2010, but she's constructing a Tier 8 set to represent Druids in her home country. It was really surprising that so many people liked World of Warcraft at the Animagic convention, and we really got nice reactions to her work. It was good motivation for us to keep going. Svetlana explains with the help of her translator and boyfriend Benjamin Schwartz. As passionate as Mario, Alice, and Svetlana are, they do note there are some trials. On the first day of BlizzCon, when I was in costume, Mario recalls, I didn't eat or drink anything from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. because there was no way I would have been able to go to the bathroom without a handler. And I was not going to do that. The costumes, that's a good point. From the bulky tank gear to the revealing elves can be hot, restrictive, and draining. Their weapons, Mario's guiding light and Svetlana's intensity, may only weigh 15 pounds each, but they had to carry them for an entire day. You can look at a picture of me holding... Ew, that's gross. Here's more a crusader, she's got some weird cat eye looking things. I don't even know what they're really supposed to be. Maybe that's we always want to improve our skills and make a better costume every year. She looks gross with those teeth. Maybe she's supposed to be Onyxia? There's another Arakoa type of guy. Maybe that's Svetlana's weapon. There's a night elf. I was mid-sentence. Guiding light, and you can tell what time of day it is, Mario says. I started out with it above my head, and I'm practically dragging it on the ground eventually. The only reason I'm holding it in the air on stage is adrenaline. Starter costumes. You don't have to dress to the tier 9s to get into cosplay. Try out one of these simple but effective costumes. A Bloodsail Buccaneer. Pirate costumes are everywhere. Some slight mods, and you can call Plunder Isle home. A level 1 character. We've all been there, so with the right pants, skirt, blouse, or top, everyone will recognize you. Ramik Slamwrench, a gaudy red suit, pimp hat, and some... Oh man, that shows the agingness of this too. And some green face paint will have you ready for PvP action. Holiday gear, Brewfast, Love is in the Air, and Noble Garden all have simple costumes you can piece together with them all. Aerith Primrose. You've never bought a thing from Dalaran's floors, but that doesn't mean you can't dress like her. And Great Father Winter, a Santa suit and a Halloween mask can earn you the title of Merrymaker. Oh, there's another Draenei. There's a blood elf. Can't tell what she's supposed to be. A human. There's... I don't even know what that blue face is, what that's supposed to be right there. That one's obviously an orc, I guess. If I have to say it with a question mark, it's not super obvious. But cool for them. For many cosplayers, the desire and ability to recreate something so specifically is what drives them to build their costumes. For Svetlana, the motivation also comes from a place of self-improvement. On stage and in a costume, a flight attendant morphed into a spider queen from hell. It's always a little puzzle to build all the pieces of a tier set, but I always try to handle everything as detailed as possible, and I fall in love with the little things. The positive responses are good motivation for us to keep going. We always want to improve our skills and make a better costume every year. As her skills improve, Svetlana becomes more comfortable working with new materials and techniques such as milling, woodworking, and molding. Recently, she became a big fan of Wonderflex, a hard material that becomes malleable when heated, but she also extols the virtue of expanding foam as a fastening agent and a material for carving intricate shapes. Her Tier 6 Druid costume is simply beautiful, largely due to the attention to detail that Svetlana gave to each piece. Little things like beads and feathers, layering different fabrics and materials to create depth and movement, and a juxtaposition of colors add up to something that flows in real life. I want to see which one is supposed to be her. Like these outfits sound cool. Mario and Alice approach their costumes not like seasoned veterans, but like MacGyver, using every trick in the book to pull off the impossible. The Tier 8 Priest costume cost only a few $100s, but it took 3 people across 2 states more than 150 hours to complete. For them, a painted snow globe turns into a glowing orb, a hockey face mask serves as the frame for pauldrons, and a hollow volume of War and Peace that you'd find in a model house makes the perfect tome. Makes sense. Within the community, people share ideas and make techniques their own, and they all agree that you have to do what works for you. Doesn't matter if it's a welded metalwork or cardboard held together with duct tape, you've succeeded if you bring the game to life. I mean, and I respect that because it's a hobby. I've never been a cosplayer. It's not my thing. I'm not even a huge Halloween guy. But I totally get it. And it's super cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I would. It's not how I want to spend my 150 hours. In some instances, the cosplayers even beat the developers to the punch in bringing a concept to life. Initially, cosplay was something I did with friends years ago, but I stopped for a while, Lorraine Torres says. Then I started playing World of Warcraft, and I really loved the character designs, and I really wanted to bring it to life. So, I did a Night Elf Druid for BlizzCon 2008. I didn't win the contest, but it was fun to get out there. I wanted to come back with something different, something bigger. In 2009, this proved to be a huge understatement, and Lorraine appeared on stage as Diablo 3's Mistress of Pain. The Spider Queen. Oh, is that supposed to be her right there? I mean, that's cool. At this time, there were only a few conceptual art drawings of the Mistress of Pain, one of which, I was going to say, because that game wasn't even out then yet, one of which caught Lorraine's eye in the BlizzCon art gallery in 2008. Though she was on the floor prior to the 2009 costume contest, Lorraine wore only the dress and headpiece. I wanted to give them a sneak peek of what was to come, Lorraine laughs. Even those who saw her before the contest could not predict what would walk on the stage. In full costume, a flight attendant morphed into a spider queen from the burning hells, complete with twisted legs and a bulging abdomen. She snarled, bearing a ghastly row of teeth behind pale skin, offset by pure black eyes. That must be what this is right here. So that's a Diablo thing. That's pretty funny. Beneath the horror, the contraption assembled for the first time ever backstage stayed together thanks to plastic ties. I got on stage and at first you didn't hear anything. Your adrenaline is pumping, your heart racing, you're just thinking, my gosh, don't fall apart. It was silent for a moment, and then an eruption of cheer. It frightened me for a split second. I was taken aback and honored. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I was just praying to cross the stage without falling. That's pretty neat little get-up of Kel'Thuzad. Here we have, I don't know, some kind of paladin. I don't know who that's supposed to be with the face mask. Maybe just a random character. Maybe that's a rogue. That's a pretty neat little armor set. And we got like a two-headed ogre. I like the big ears. Lorraine was on stage for just a few moments, but the costume took home almost $2,000 and the better part of a year to make. Oh, it took 2 months were dedicated to drawing and redrawing the Mistress of Pain as she tried to extrapolate what she could from the conceptual art she had to base it on. I decided to make the protrusions on the side out of tree bark. I might have looked like a crazy person sitting in the park, peeling bark off the tree, but the result looked cool. The dress and headpiece, which she confided was cardboard, spray paint, and costume jewelry, were hard enough, but the legs posed a unique problem. Not only did they have to look great, but she had to get them from Orlando, Florida, to California. That's a journey I've made many, many times. It's about a 10-hour flight. In the end, the leg, if you go direct, the legs are just the human legs. They have bone, muscle, and skin. The bone is PVC pipe, the muscle is craft foam filled with pillow stuffing, and the skin's just black fabric. As a flight attendant, Lorraine arranged her schedule to create large chunks of time devoted to the Mistress of Pain. Even when she was 35,000 feet in the air, she didn't stop working. I'd take care of the customers, and then when they slept, I would start to sew whatever little pieces that I could. The dedication paid off, and Lorraine won the 2009 contest, an accomplishment that exceeded her dreams. I'll be completely honest, I wasn't praying to win. I was just praying to cross the stage without falling. Consistent throughout cosplay is the desire to create something that honors the imagination and art of a fictional universe. World of Warcraft players, already a passionate lot, take cosplay to another level, creating incredibly detailed costumes out of common craft store items. Some do it for the attention, others want a shot at taking home top prize at the costume contest, and others want to bridge the ever-decreasing gap between fantasy and reality. For Mario, it's a little simpler. You did what 90% of the people there didn't do. Even if you don't think it's perfect, you completed it. It's always better to be in costume than to wish you were in costume. At the very least, maybe you'll inspire a princess to drop her fairy wand and pick up a mace. Alright, so we have one last little page where it talks about someone making a cool, it's not supposed to be a staff, like a stag or type of staff for the druid set. Neat. It's like we have a lot of paper mache. From beginning to journey's end, here's how one player took a druid staff from World of Warcraft to the stage. Love the idea of bounding into BlizzCon in full tier gear waving Valinir, Hammer of Ancient Kings, but have no idea how to get started. The cosplay community is always eager to share their tips, techniques, and trade secrets. Svetlana Quint from Nuremberg, Germany, showed us how she built her own journey's end. Follow along or use the theories and techniques to build the armor or weapon of your dreams. So that's Svetlana. Those shoulder pads are pretty dope. It's pretty cool. And the staff looks great. It really does. She did a great job on that. Okay, so one is the planning. Many cosplayers will tell you that they spend a lot of time and effort in the planning stages. The first step is to gather information. Print screenshots from the game at every angle and utilize sites like the World of Warcraft Armory. However, with all aspects of cosplay, don't forget to think outside the box. My sister gave me the Brawl Baremantle World of Warcraft figure with Journey's End for my birthday. So I got the perfect sample for my work, Svetlana explains. Along with the shape, colors, and textures, look at the scale of the item. So that's pretty true if you look at this compared to this. So this is like a little action figure, basically. And it's pretty good. Mats, this is 2. So what do you have to collect? This is the weird kind of wood and foam and stuff. A craft store will sell just about anything you'll need to build a compelling and accurate costume. Though Svetlana admits she would do some things differently in hindsight. She created her journey's end out of wooden dowels, gray board, a sturdy material similar to cardboard, foam, paper mache, PVC pipe, and paint. Remember, you want to keep things lightweight. You may be able to bench 200 pounds, but try holding a gallon of milk in the air for 8 hours. That makes sense as well. 3 is building the head out of paper mache. Create a basic outline of the head on gray board, omitting the antlers and details. You'll need 2 mirror pieces. Cut out and shape soft foam. Pink foam is inexpensive and won't crumble when you cut into it to match the outline. Carve away the impressions on the face to give the depth to the snout, cheeks, and eyes. Build ears out of gray board and a mane from carved pink foam. And glue all these pieces onto the gray board outlines and cover the whole thing in paper mache for stability. That's these two pieces right here. 4 is building the antlers. Cut and glue PVC pipes to mimic the staff's antlers. Spray expanding foam over each branch and let it dry before carving it down, leaving exposed PVC at the base to insert holes drilled into the head. Paper mache will provide durability and a smooth finish for painting. Repeat the process for the other side of the staff. That, to me, would be hard. You can see it done kind of in 2 steps there. The hoof. Bend a piece of gray board into a cone that will fit around the dowel you'll use to create the staff. That's actually kind of neat that it has a hoof on the bottom. Diagonally cut away the bottom and secure the opening with a gray board. Fill the cone with expanding foam and insert the dowel. Create a hole in the neck of the head and repeat this process with the other end of the dowel. Cover both in paper mache and leave an indent for the section between the hoof and foot. You can fill this in with pink foam etched with runes. That's that right there. Painting and details. Varying shades of paint can provide additional depth to your foam details, and a milling effect throughout the staff will give the illusion of weathered wood. Red leather straps, fake ivy, and some feathers from the craft store add detail, and more importantly, movement as you walk. And that almost seemed, first of all, think that itself would take so many freaking hours to make, and the paint that it would take to paint it, she did a good job, but just creating the little strips on it to give it that wood effect, like, it's pretty dope, pretty impressive. All right, I think that's where we're going to cut off for now. We have a tactics. They love to do tactics in this magazine series. So it looks like we're going to cover the Ruby Sanctum, and, we're probably, if not next episode, then the one after that, I'm sure there'll be some PvP tactics or something like that. But we have another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Thanks, everybody, for watching, for listening, for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I enjoy taking this journey with all of you. See you next time on Lore of Warcraft. Adios.